Today we're going to cover the Fanatic exploit and Illfonic's legacy failures. No doubt, most of you that have played this game, especially since the beginning, know that it is riddled with glitches and bugs that occur from time to time. But we learn to deal with these things, and we can enjoy the base game as it was somewhat meant to be played. However, I'm first going to cover the Fanatic exploit and exactly how it works, because it has the most potential to actually change how the game is played and completely changes the balance between the damage that the fire team can deal to the predator and the predator's ability to trade any damage by attempting to attack the fire team. So let's begin with the build necessary to perform the Fanatic exploit. First of all, the only thing you need is to have the Fanatic specialization equipped and a self-revive Surette. That's it. It doesn't matter in which gear slot your self-revive Surette is equipped. You just have to have it. Since you have everything you need to perform the exploit, just knock yourself down during a match. You can do this using a barrel, grenades, or just standing in a fire. It actually does not matter at all. But as you can see, the fire does damage every few seconds. So this exploit actually works by causing damage while you're down. And each time you are damaged by the fire, you get another stack of the 10% extra damage from the Fanatic exploit, which is why you'll typically see people with about 4 times the damage they should have. But if you can maximize your entire health pool while downed, just sitting in the fire until the last moment to self-revive, this can be maxed out at about 6 times extra damage. But just to be clear, don't try to self-revive in the fire, you will die. So start to crawl your way out of the fire once you're about out of health. Another thing to note here is that the damage increase is permanent. It doesn't matter how you heal yourself with field Surettes or with medic kits in the game. You've got this damage for the rest of the match. Since I'm sure you'll want to see the Fanatic exploit's extra damage in action, here is some high-level AI with a lot of health, and the Fanatic exploit is not active. If you weren't counting the shots, that was 12 shots to kill and 7 shots to kill respectively. And now we'll be moving on to the same AI, but this time with the Fanatic exploit active. And as you can see here, 2 shots to kill, and I think the only reason it takes 2 shots is because that first shot is just leaving them with a sliver of health. Finally, here's an example of the Predator being on the receiving end of this damage. And the weapon being used by the fire team here is the 10-11-12 pistol, which is tied for the highest DPS at close range of any weapon in the game. As you can imagine, it is absolutely brutal amounts of damage. You can't compete with this if the fire team has any aim at all. Okay, that was pretty bad, right? But if Illfonic were to fix the Fanatic exploit, would Predator Hunting Grounds suddenly be cured of its ills? Absolutely not. And the very first thing that I want to address that I feel has been an issue for the fire team players having to deal with predators using this all the time to secure easy wins is the battle axe. And I really don't understand the balanced decision here, because There's an almost identical weapon in the Warhammer, but the Warhammer does 87 damage with a heavy attack, while the Battle Axe does 100 damage with a heavy attack and has an additional 15 bleed damage. So, with the damage thresholds that this weapon meets, it puts it into a completely different category than any other melee weapon. And since melee has heavy tracking, you don't even have to aim, you essentially just walk up to the fire team and spam a couple of attacks and they're down. So if we give the Battle Axe the same amount of heavy damage as the Warhammer, will that balance everything out? Well, not really, because back on the fire team side, there's a specialization called Field Medic. And to understand how powerful it is, a normal revive takes 5 seconds. And that is in contrast to Field Medic bringing that down to 1 1/3 second, while also giving fire team players 55% of their health with every revive. Whereas a normal revive gives 50% of your health back the first time, and only 25% with each subsequent revive until the player is instantly killed upon being downed. Yet, simply nerfing Field Medic will only create another problem, in that predators will shoot players while they're down with either the Yautja bow or the plasma pistol. And the time to kill in this situation is faster than a standard revive. Since killing players in this way can lead to very early deaths in the match, and fire team players that are simply bored because if they're the first ones to die, they have to wait until a possible reinforcement to happen, a better alternative in the down system would be to simply turn being downed into a timer and remove the ability of Field Medic to revive faster, only keeping the additional health after a revive. And I believe this would lead to healthier engagements with the Predator, where the Predator's goal is either to get multiple knockdowns with each engagement before retreating to heal and then re-engaging, or going for that one knockdown, taking the claim, and risking losing a lot of health while doing so. What this would all do is eliminate situations where the Predator constantly has to deal with 4 players because of Field Medic, while also ensuring that players stay alive on the ground long enough to be revived after the engagement is finished and continue playing, doing missions, and fighting the Predator. Finally, I'm going to address a couple of movement-related issues. And they both have to do with the Predator leaping. And this first one, some might argue, could be a skill-based issue, but honestly it just breaks immersion and there could be solutions to it. And the basic problem is that the Predator leaps at about the same height as the big tree branches, which leads to a lot of leaps, causing you to smack your face right into the branches. And I think the solution here would be to simply add the animation for Predator entering into Predcore whenever they come into contact with the tree branches. And this other problem with Predator leaping is a little bit more problematic in that one issue is an oversight and the other is some sort of a glitch. So first of all, if there is any small object in front of your feet, you will leap straight up into the air as Predator. And also, if the Predator has just deployed gear and then tries to leap right after that, they will also shoot straight up into the air, which is a huge problem in a game that requires you to be mobile at all times when playing as the Predator. And finally, back on the fire team side, if you've ever played any modern shooter, whether it's one of the Battlefield or Call of Duty franchises, or even games like Aliens Fireteam Elite, Apex Legends, they all have a very nice sticky aim assist, which allows you to track very mobile targets. And since PlayStation players don't have this, when aiming on console, it's an absolute nightmare. And that's completely ignoring the stiffness of the controls and the lack of options around dead zones. And this last gripe actually has a lot to do with why it's so hard to help new players in this game, because veteran players know that there are audio bubbles that the Predator can see when you use a mic, but new players don't know this. So veteran players don't want to talk to new players over the mic, and new players don't know that's a feature, give their position away the entire match, and it gets them killed. They should just be removed. There should be no audio bubbles just for using your microphone in the match. And that's everything I wanted to cover in this video. There are certainly other glitches and bugs, but I feel like these are the key issues preventing this game from feeling like a finished, fully fleshed out experience. If there's enough interest in this video, maybe I'll make more in the future, but until then, happy hunting.